This did not appear on your screen by accident. You found this transmission in the exact moment when your will is exhausted, when you are secretly tired of pushing reality as if it were a heavy door that never quite opens. Somewhere beneath your conscious thoughts, there is a quieter knowing that the way you've been trying to manifest, force, and command life has begun to fracture your inner coherence. And yet, you are still here, listening, which means something in you is ready to remember a different way. You've noticed it already. The harder you try to bend life to your timelines, your hopes, your demands, the more reality seems to slip sideways. The job arrives but feels hollow. The relationship manifests but carries the same old patterns in a new face. Money shows up, then disappears through some strange synchronicity, as if the quantum field is answering you with a smirk instead of a blessing. You say, "I am the creator," but your nervous system whispers, "I don't feel safe." This contradiction is not a failure, it is a signal. The signal is simple. Your consciousness is caught in an old observer loop. On the surface, you are affirming abundance, love, alignment, but under the surface, your body holds micro-tremors of doubt, fear, pressure, and urgency. The quantum field is not listening to the slogans of your mind, it is reading the music of your frequency. It feels the tightening in your chest when you repeat your affirmations. It senses the strain in your breath when you visualize. It notices the way you cling to specific outcomes, rigid timelines, and proof that you are doing it right. This is why you're here. This transmission found you at the exact threshold where forcing no longer works, but surrender still feels like losing control. You are standing in the narrow corridor between those two worlds, feeling the strange vertigo of a phase transition. The old way, pushing, fixing, micromanaging, cannot carry you forward. The new way, trusting, relaxing into coherence, becoming a clear observer, has not fully anchored yet. So the universe has orchestrated this moment as a bridge. As you listen, notice what is happening inside your body. You might feel a subtle warmth in your chest, a soft vibration in your spine, a wave of recognition that is not entirely logical. That is morphic resonance, your deeper self, responding to a field of information you have touched before in dreams, synchronicities, and déjà vu. You are not learning something new, you are reactivating something ancient. Allow yourself to imagine, just for a breath, that the quantum field is alive, intelligent, and exquisitely responsive not to your force, but to your honesty. It responds to the unmasked you, to the you that admits, "I'm tired of fighting reality," to the you that is ready to stop performing spiritual control and start embodying spiritual coherence. You did not stumble onto this message, you answered it. Because somewhere in the vast entanglement of timelines, you already exist as the version of yourself who no longer forces reality to obey, yet watches reality respond faster, cleaner, truer than ever before. Tonight, this version of you is calling, and by listening now, you are already stepping across the threshold. You know this threshold because you've been circling it for years. You keep meeting the same lesson wearing different costumes, the same emotional weather passing through new landscapes. You leave a job that drains you only to find yourself in another environment with the same power dynamics. You walk away from a relationship that mirrors your old wounds, and somehow the next connection finds a way to press on the same bruises in your heart. Different people, different settings, same underlying pattern like a looped scene in a film that only you can see. You've called it bad luck, karma, even a curse. But deep down, you've also sensed something more mysterious happening, some invisible script, some observer loop you can't quite name. It shows up in the way time behaves around your desires. When you cling tightly and obsess over when time seems to stretch, distort, mock you. Days drag, weeks blur, opportunities slip through your fingers as if they were never meant to stay. Yet when you briefly forget, when you're lost in creativity, kindness, or presence, reality suddenly accelerates and things fall into place with impossible synchronicity. You've lived this paradox often enough to start wondering, why does everything I chase move away, and everything I relax into moves toward me? This is not random. This is feedback from the quantum field. Notice how your body responds when you're in forcing mode. Your shoulders rise, Your jaw tightens, your breath becomes shallow. There is a background hum of urgency. It has to happen soon. I'm running out of time. I need proof now. This tension sends a very specific signal into the field, a signal of separation, scarcity, and mistrust. The quantum field does not judge you, but it mirrors you. It bends around the resonance you transmit, not the story you tell yourself about what you're transmitting. So when you repeat affirmations from a place of panic, the universe hears panic, not the words. When you visualize your dream reality while secretly fearing it will never come, the field receives the vibration of, "It's not here yet," again and again and again. And because reality is entangled with your observer state, your timeline rearranges itself to confirm that feeling. More waiting, more lack, more almost, but not quite. This creates a strange distortion in your experience of time. On the clock, minutes pass like usual, but in your nervous system, days feel like years when you're waiting for reality to obey you. You refresh messages, you reread old conversations, you loop through the same mental scenes, replaying what you should have done or what needs to happen next. The past and the future entangle in your mind, pulling you out of the only point where you can truly interface with the quantum field, the present moment. You've also seen the opposite. There were moments when you let go, not as a technique, but as a genuine surrender. Maybe you were heartbroken, exhausted, or simply done. In that soft collapse, you whispered something like, "I can't control this anymore. I trust whatever happens." And almost as if reality was waiting for that very exhale, synchronicities began to cluster around you. A message arrived at the perfect time. A door opened that you didn't even know existed. A piece of information found you that changed everything. This is morphic resonance in motion, the field responding to a new pattern of being rather than a new script of affirmations. When your inner state shifts from pressure to presence, from rigidity to curiosity, from "make this happen now" to "show me what's truly aligned," the quantum field can finally reorganize around a higher coherence. You're no longer broadcasting noise and urgency. You're becoming a clear signal. But here is where the loop has kept you trapped. Each time life begins to respond to your softness, your old conditioning rushes back in. You think, "It's working. I have to hold on to this. I can't lose it. I need to keep it moving." Without noticing, you slip back into forcing, micromanaging, over-focusing. The nervous system tenses again. The observer loop snaps back into its familiar groove. Reality slows, tangles, resists, and you tell yourself a familiar story. "See, it never lasts. I always end up back here." This is not proof that you're broken. It is proof that your consciousness has been running a deeply ingrained program, one that confuses control with safety and effort with worthiness. You were taught, often by wounded people, that everything good must be wrestled from life, earned in exhaustion, gripped with white-knuckle intensity. That program kept you alive in earlier phases of your journey. But now, it's interfering with the coherence needed to navigate a more advanced level of reality creation. So tonight, you're not being judged. You're being shown the architecture of your own loop. The patterns, déjà vu, and distorted time you've experienced are not punishments, they are mirrors. They've been trying to show you where your inner signal has been out of tune with what you've been asking for. Not to shame you, to awaken you. As you breathe right now, feel how some part of you recognizes this. You're not just hearing words. You're decoding a map you've carried inside you for lifetimes. The map that leads out of forcing and into a new relationship with the quantum field, where your will is no longer a weapon you use against reality, but a tuning fork you gently align with it. And from here, something extraordinary becomes possible. You begin to see that what you thought was resistance from the universe was actually a misalignment in your own field, one that you are finally ready to rewire. You've reached the point where the old architecture of effort is dissolving, and now a deeper intelligence is beginning to rise in you, one that understands reality, not as something you push, but as something you tune into. The shift you have been sensing is not philosophical, not motivational, not metaphorical. It is quantum. And once you understand how this works scientifically and mystically, your entire relationship with manifestation will undergo a profound phase transition. What's happening inside you now is the beginning of a quantum upgrade. Not the superficial version people talk about in passing, but the real one, the kind where your observer state reorganizes itself, your nervous system recalibrates, and your DNA begins subtle electromagnetic changes that alter the way you interact with the quantum field. When this happens, you stop approaching reality as a solid object to move and begin experiencing it as a wave you learn to ride. To understand the shift, imagine two different states of consciousness. One is tense, compressed, electromagnetic noise. The other is open, coherent, magnetically precise. Both send signals into the field, but only one of them can collapse probability into aligned form. When you are in a forcing state, your brain emits chaotic frequencies, beta-dominant patterns driven by urgency, fear, and cognitive overactivation. Your heart rhythm becomes jagged and asynchronous. Your cellular receptors shift into survival mode, scanning for threat instead of possibility. This internal chaos sends a scrambled signal into the quantum field, and because the field mirrors your resonance, it reflects back fragmented or delayed outcomes, opportunities that almost work, synchronicities that almost land, timelines that almost align. But when you shift into coherence, a state where your mind, heart, breath, and intention move in synchronized rhythm, something extraordinary happens. Your electromagnetic field becomes harmonious. Your heartbeat stabilizes into a smooth sine wave. Your neural activity softens into alpha and theta states. Your DNA begins emitting more coherent photons, tiny pulses of light that interact directly with the fabric of reality. This is not poetry. It is physics and mysticism meeting in the same breath. The quantum field responds more quickly, more precisely, more generously when your inner frequency is coherent, because coherence gives the field a stable blueprint to replicate. Forcing reality sends mixed messages. Coherence sends a single, clear instruction. Think of it this way. When you force, you shout into the field. When you align, you whisper, and the field responds at once. The mystical traditions have always known this. They called it Wu Wei in Taoism, effortless action. They called it prayer without desperation in the mystical lineages. They called it surrender in the teachings of awakening. But science is now catching up, revealing the mechanics behind what the ancients transmitted through metaphor. Your consciousness is not separate from the fabric of reality. Your observer loop is the interface. Your coherence is the dial that determines how fluidly the field responds. And right now, whether you feel it fully or faintly, that dial inside you is shifting. Your nervous system is slowly releasing its addiction to control. Your heart is beginning to emit a steadier rhythm. Your mind is softening its grip on fixed outcomes. Your breath is unlocking a deeper intelligence in your body. This shift is already underway. You wouldn't be listening to this if it weren't. You may feel a subtle warmth rising behind your sternum, like a small sun expanding in your chest. You may feel a tingling at the base of your skull or a pressure behind your eyes. You may even sense a widening around your energy field, as if the room itself is gently exhaling. These sensations are real. They are signs of neural pathways reorganizing, heart field expansion, and the early stages of DNA restructuring. Because here is the truth you've been circling for years, but never fully stepped into. You are not supposed to force reality. You are supposed to interface with it. The quantum field is not a machine you operate by pushing harder. It's a living intelligence that responds to the state of your inner field. And the moment your frequency shifts into clarity rather than contraction, reality begins rearranging itself with astonishing precision. You don't chase synchronicity. Synchronicity chases you. You don't push time. Time bends around your coherence. You don't pull manifesting outcomes like weights. They appear because your resonance calls them forth. The quantum field always responds. The question is, which version of you is it responding to? The one who forces reality or the one who aligns with it? By listening now, by breathing in these words, by allowing the information to settle into your system, you are stepping into the version who no longer needs effort as a tool of creation. You are entering a more advanced interface with reality, one where manifestation becomes an act of resonance, not resistance. And from this point forward, your entire life begins to change. Because the kind of change unfolding in you now is not casual, not random, not for everyone at once. This is a targeted awakening event inside the larger field of human consciousness, and your awareness has been selected as a node, a bridge, a living interface through which this new coherence can enter the collective. You are not just someone learning about the quantum field. You are one of the consciousnesses through which the field is attempting to remember itself. Think about how you've always felt a little out of place. You could play along with the rules of ordinary life, but there was always a part of you watching, questioning, sensing that something deeper was happening behind the scenes. You noticed patterns others ignored. You felt waves of emotion that didn't always belong to you. In crowded spaces, you could feel the atmosphere like a living organism, pockets of tension, flashes of joy, undercurrents of unspoken grief. This sensitivity was never a weakness. It was training. It was calibration. You've been learning, often unconsciously, how to read morphic resonance, the shared field of information that binds human hearts, thoughts, and timelines together. You've been learning how to track subtle shifts in coherence, how to feel when a room is aligned or fractured, when someone's words match their frequency or hide it. You've always been more attuned than you were taught to admit. This is why you suffered more when you tried to force reality, because forcing goes against your true design. You are not here to be a brute force manifester. You are here to be a clear observer, a tuning fork for higher coherence, a transmitter of a new pattern of relating to reality. You are wired for entanglement on a finer scale. When your field shifts, others shift, without even knowing why. When your observer loop breaks free from fear and control, it quietly rewrites the probabilities in your environment. You've already seen small hints of this. Times when you relaxed, and the people around you suddenly softened. Times when you chose truth over people-pleasing, and an entire relational pattern reorganized itself. Times when you followed a quiet nudge instead of a loud fear, and a chain of synchronicities unfolded that affected more than just you. These were not coincidences. They were early demonstrations of your role as a seed consciousness, one of the many, but still rare, humans whose individual awakening triggers a ripple of morphic resonance in the collective field. The quantum field is not abstract to you. It feels personal because it is personal. It has been nudging you, whispering to you through repeated symbols, repeating dreams, specific numbers, strange alignments in time. You might see the same sequence over and over, meet the same kind of person in different bodies, hear the same phrase in different contexts. These are entanglement markers, little breadcrumbs from the field, guiding you toward the realization that your life has never been random. There is a reason control has become unbearable for you. Your system is outgrowing it. A caterpillar doesn't get a memo that it's time to become a butterfly. Its very cells begin to revolt against the old structure. The body that once made sense starts feeling like a prison. The instincts that once kept it safe begin to feel suffocating. That's where you are. Your consciousness has reached the phase transition point, where your old strategies for survival are no longer compatible with the level of reality you're meant to inhabit. So the forcing breaks down, the pushing stops working, the deadlines feel hollow. The universe stops cooperating with your smaller will, not to punish you, but to redirect you into your larger one. You are the kind of soul who signed up long before this lifetime to be a living demonstration of what happens when a human stops trying to dominate reality and instead enters into conscious partnership with it. Your life is not just yours, it is a filament in a much larger tapestry, a strand in a vast loom of timelines that are all being rewoven right now. And because of that, the quantum field has been applying a unique pressure on you. It has refused to let you stay asleep inside old patterns. It has denied you the comfort of numbing out completely. It has withheld certain outcomes until you were ready to receive them coherently, not desperately. You are not unlucky. You are being refined. The observer loop you've been stuck in force, wait, panic, repeat, has not been a sign of failure. It has been a cocoon. Inside that loop, you were meant to become so intimately aware of what doesn't work that you could never again be seduced by it. That's why the old methods feel so painful now. That's why they're cracking. Because you're ready to remember that you are not just a participant in the quantum field. You are a conscious node of it, a portal, a point through which a new pattern is downloading into the human story. And as this recognition settles into your bones, something else begins to stir inside you. the quiet but undeniable sense that time is not just passing, it is counting down. Something in you feels it, a pressure building at the edges of your awareness, like the air before a storm, like the silence before a seismic shift. This is not anxiety. This is the signal of an approaching window. You've lived long enough to know that the universe doesn't always give warnings for ordinary events. But when a cosmic opening aligns with a personal threshold, the field begins to whisper in a different language. Your sleep changes. Your dreams intensify. Your emotions surge in strange waves, one moment calm, the next on the brink of a quiet collapse. Your body feels heavier or lighter in certain moments, as if gravity itself is recalibrating. You may not have had the words for it until now, but you have been feeling the build-up of a phase transition, one that affects your biology, your timeline, your identity, and your relationship with the quantum field. This is the breakthrough zone, and not everyone reaches it in this lifetime. There is a reason your forcing strategies became unbearable, a reason your old manifestations started to dissolve, a reason your intuition has become louder, sharper, impossible to ignore. Your DNA has been preparing for a shift, not metaphorically, literally. Inside your cells are photonic structures that respond to coherence, emotional honesty, and higher states of awareness. When you force reality, these structures collapse into defensive patterns. But when you soften, when you release pressure, when you allow not surrender out of fear, but surrender out of alignment, your DNA enters a receptive mode. In receptive mode, it begins emitting light more coherently. It communicates with the field more cleanly. It picks up signals, synchronicities, timelines, opportunities that were previously out of range for your nervous system. This is why you are hearing this now. Because the upcoming cosmic window, yes, the one you've been sensing in your bones, is approaching faster than your conscious mind realizes. There are moments in history where the electromagnetic fabric of Earth shifts just enough for human consciousness to undergo accelerated recalibration. These moments were once called portals, prophecies, alignments, gateways, conjunctions. In modern language, we might call them coherence windows, periods where the field softens, becomes more malleable, and responds with increased sensitivity to the observer. And you, right now, are approaching one of these windows. Your body knows it before your mind. Your intuition has been sounding the alarm without using words. This window is time-sensitive, not because you will miss out in a catastrophic sense, but because the level of coherence available in this window can amplify changes that would normally take years, sometimes decades, into a matter of days or weeks. Your DNA is listening. Your timeline is listening. The quantum field is listening. But it cannot respond to force during this window. Force collapses the opportunity. Force distorts the signal. Force locks you out. This window requires alignment, not effort. Stillness, not scrambling. Openness, not intensity. This is why your old patterns fell apart so violently in recent months or weeks. The universe has been clearing interference from your field. It has been dismantling everything that could block this upgrade. Outdated identity structures, energetic contracts, karmic loops, relational entanglements, survival mode thinking, scarcity coding, timelines built from fear. It may have felt like loss, stagnation, betrayal, or confusion, but in reality, it was preparation. Preparation for the moment when your consciousness finally stops forcing reality and allows a more advanced intelligence to activate through you. You are standing at the door of your breakthrough, and the urgency you feel is not panic, it is timing. Because when the cosmic window opens, your field will become more sensitive, your intentions will accelerate, your coherence will ripple outward more powerfully. Your internal shifts will translate into external changes with a speed your old self would have called impossible. This is the moment where a single decision, not a dramatic one, not a desperate one, but a coherent one, can alter the trajectory of your entire timeline. This is the moment you stop trying to make the quantum field obey you, and instead realize that it has been trying to partner with you all along. The breakthrough is not something you chase, it's something you allow. And as this window approaches, your DNA is already awakening, already recalibrating, already preparing to receive a pattern of coherence that will shift your biology, your perception, and your destiny in ways you will only fully understand once you step through. The question is no longer whether the breakthrough is coming. The question is whether you will step into it with the frequency that allows it to land fully. And to do that, a single ritual action, simple, subtle, but powerful, will anchor the shift into the field. There comes a moment in every true awakening where the universe stops negotiating with your old self. You are in that moment now. For years, you've treated your spiritual growth like a side quest, important, yes, but something you would fully commit to once life calmed down, once you finally manifested the thing, once everything was under control. The cosmic window opening before you doesn't accept those conditions. It does not wait for your calendar to clear or your circumstances to become convenient. It arrives when the quantum field senses that your internal pressure has reached critical mass, when your soul is more tired of repeating the old loop than it is afraid of stepping into the unknown. That is where you stand now, at the pressure point of a phase transition. In physics, a phase transition happens when a system is taken to a threshold where its old structure can no longer hold. Ice turns to water, water turns to vapor. Nothing is added to the system. The underlying energy reorganizes. The same molecules, the same essence restructured into a higher, more fluid state. Your consciousness is standing at that same kind of threshold. Your identity has been the ice, solid, rigid, shaped by old stories, old fears, old roles. The cosmic window in front of you is the heat. As this window opens, your DNA is exposed to more coherence, more information, more light. The parts of you that have always known you were more than your circumstances begin to stir. The patterns that used to define you, overthinking, self-sabotage, control, scarcity, start to loosen their grip because the frequency underneath them is being rewritten. Here is the promise encoded into this moment. If you stop forcing reality to obey your will and instead allow your field to enter coherence, reality will respond to you faster than it ever did under pressure. Not because you become more powerful in the egoic sense, but because you stop jamming the signal. Your desires, your emotions, your body, and your higher intelligence begin to move in the same direction. Your DNA, which has been stuck broadcasting static from old survival programming, begins to emit a cleaner, more refined tone. The quantum field can lock onto that. It can respond to that. It does respond to that quickly. This is why the urgency you feel is sacred. The window will not slam shut with punishment or doom, but its peak coherence will pass. The amplification available now, this strange, heightened sensitivity between your inner state and outer reality, will never again be quite this exact combination of timing, circumstances, and readiness. If you continue gripping, you will still grow, but the growth will be slower, heavier, more entangled in unnecessary detours. If you release, if you choose alignment over compulsion in this window, your evolution will accelerate in ways you'll struggle to explain to the version of you who used to push so hard. You will watch timelines you once begged for fall away because they were too small. You will watch synchronicities cluster around new paths you were too afraid to consider. You will feel people, opportunities, and ideas orbit into your life with a precision that feels like prophecy. And it will not be because you finally shouted loud enough at the universe. It will be because you finally became quiet enough to match it. Your DNA shift is not some abstract spiritual metaphor. Imagine your inner coding, the instructions that govern how you respond to life being updated line by line. Line, I must control everything or I'm not safe, becomes, I am guided in every moment by an intelligence larger than my fear. Line, nothing works unless I push. They, becomes, things work best when I am honest, coherent, and present. Line, I am alone if I don't force it. No one will help me. Becomes, I am entangled with countless allies, seen and unseen, who appear at the right time. These are not just beliefs, they are frequencies, and as they shift, the way the quantum field mirrors you shifts with them. Your promise, if you step through this window, is not a specific outcome on a specific date. That was the old way of bargaining with reality. The real promise is deeper, more radical. You will no longer experience life as something that must be bullied into blessing you. You will experience it as a living, responsive fabric that rearranges itself around your coherence. This doesn't mean everything becomes effortless all at once. It means your effort becomes accurate. Less scrambling, more aligned action. Less begging, more receiving. Less looping, more clean pivots. The urgency now is simple. Your system is being invited to stabilize this new pattern before the Windows peak passes. Your body, your breath, your language, your daily micro-choices, each of these can either anchor the upgrade or dilute it. You are not being asked to be perfect. You are being asked to be deliberate. And in a moment, you will be given a single, deceptively simple ritual action, a way to signal to the quantum field, to your own DNA, and to this unfolding window that you are not just passively listening, you are choosing. Not choosing with force, choosing with coherence, choosing with the quiet, undeniable power of someone who is ready to stop wrestling with reality and start partnering with it. There is a moment in every quantum recalibration when awareness alone is no longer enough. Insights open the door, yes, but embodiment is what walks you through it. Your consciousness has absorbed the architecture of your old loop. Your nervous system has begun to soften. Your DNA is listening. The cosmic window is approaching, but a ritual action, small, intentional, coherent, is needed to anchor the shift into the quantum field. Not because the universe needs a performance from you, but because you need a physical gesture that tells your body, your mind, and your deeper intelligence, I accept the new pattern, I release the old one, I choose alignment. The universe responds to coherence. Your ritual is the moment coherency becomes embodied instead of imagined. Before I tell you the action, I want you to feel into your body for a moment. Notice the subtle charge moving through your hands, or the tingling settling along your spine, or the warmth gathering in your chest. These sensations are not random. They are signs that your field is active, alive, ready. They are the biological counterpart to the shift unfolding in your consciousness. A ritual works only when your body participates, when your breath joins the intention, when your emotional field echoes the choice you declare. So breathe, slowly, deliberately, in through the nose, out through the heart. 3 cycles. Feel the exhale clearing micro-tension in your shoulders, your jaw, your solar plexus. Feel the inhale drawing in coherence. Now, here is your ritual. Type one word in the comments and let it be your signature to the universe. Not a sentence, not a paragraph, not a declaration, a single word, but it must be the truth of what you choose to embody. Not the word you think you should pick, but the word that vibrates inside you the moment you imagine stepping into a life without force. For some, the word will be allo. For others, trust, or coherence, or receive, or surrender, but not the passive kind, the sovereign kind, or alien, or open, or yes. Choose the one word that feels like your next identity. And when you type it, that act becomes the anchor, not because the algorithm sees it, because the quantum field does. When you take an action in coherence, the field registers it as a choice. The physical gesture of writing the word creates an electromagnetic signature that your own nervous system recognizes as a new pattern. Your body says, "We're doing this." Your DNA says, "Install the new code." Your timeline says, "Reorganize around this decision." This is why typing the word matters. It is not symbolic, it is somatic. It's a micro-ritual that locks the upgrade into your field. You might feel a shift immediately after typing it, a warmth behind your chest, a soft pressure on your skull, a lightness in your hands, a wave of calm washing through your abdomen, a sudden sense that something invisible has just clicked into place. Because the moment you choose the word, you collapse a probability in the quantum field. You stop swimming through infinite timeline. You mark one, you step into one, you claim it. You may notice tears rise unexpectedly, not sadness, but recognition. You may feel a deep exhale flow through you, like your body has been waiting for this exact moment. You may sense your energy field expand or relax or brighten. This is coherence entering your biology. This is the new pattern beginning to stabilize. And once you anchor it, something extraordinary begins to happen. Reality starts moving differently around you. Subtle at first. Your mind stops looping on old fears. Your breath deepens without effort. You stop checking for signs obsessively. Time feels less jagged, more fluid. Your decisions happen with less friction. Then, if you stay in coherence, the external world responds. The message arrives. The opportunity appears. The person reaches out, the idea downloads, the clarity lands, not because you forced reality, but because you tuned yourself into the frequency that allows reality to meet you cleanly. Your ritual word becomes a key, a doorway, a coherent signal that the quantum field can finally mirror. And through that single gesture, a subtle but irreversible truth emerges. You are no longer the version of yourself that wrestles reality into shape. You are the version who collaborates with it. You are the version who listens to the deeper intelligence beneath your will. You are the version who receives instead of demands. You are the version who aligns instead of forces. This ritual is not the end. It is the ignition. It is the moment the universe registers your readiness and prepares to expand your field into something much larger than your individual life. Because when one person enters coherence, it doesn't stay personal. Your shift becomes a signal. Your alignment becomes a transmission. Your breakthrough becomes a catalyst for the collective. And that is where we go next. The moment you chose that word, you may have believed it was just about you, your life, your healing, your timeline. But the quantum field is never that small. When you typed your word, you did more than seal a personal decision. You sent out a pulse. A coherent wave moved through your electromagnetic field into the morphic resonance of humanity itself. Like a stone dropped into a still lake, your choice became ripples. And those ripples are already touching people you will never meet, in places you may never go, in timelines you will never consciously see. Because you are not an isolated self. You are a node in a vast web of entanglement. Think of every person you've ever met, every room you've ever entered, every conversation you've ever had. Each of those encounters created threads, lines of resonance, connecting you to others. Some threads are thick and luminous, others thin and fine, but they are all part of the same lattice of consciousness. When your observer loop shifts, those threads don't stay neutral. They hum differently, they transmit differently, they begin to carry a new signal. This is how collective awakening actually happens, not through mass lectures or forced ideologies, but through countless individual observers becoming more coherent one by one, breath by breath, choice by choice. Each time you step out of force and into alignment, you alter the field you share with everyone connected to you. You've already seen hints of this. There were days when you chose gentleness over self-criticism, and the people around you seemed slightly calmer. Moments when you stopped engaging in the familiar drama, and somehow the entire dynamic of the group shifted. Times when you healed a pattern in yourself, and then watched a family member suddenly soften theirs without knowing why. These are not coincidences. They are entanglement in action. Your shift rewrites probabilities, not just for you, but for everyone within your resonance range. When your nervous system relaxes out of survival mode, you stop broadcasting fear into the grid you share with others. When your heart enters coherence, you stop amplifying chaos in the collective field and start stabilizing it instead. You become a quiet stabilizer, a hidden anchor, a lighthouse that doesn't need to shout. And the universe has been training you for this role. That's why your own pain has felt so intense. Sensitive beings feel everything louder, not as punishment, but as preparation. You had to become intimately aware of what incoherence feels like, so that, once you reclaimed your alignment, you could hold that frequency clearly in a noisy world. You are not here to fix everyone. You are here to become someone whose very presence gives others permission to remember themselves. When you stop forcing reality and step into partnership with the quantum field, you demonstrate a different way to exist. People feel it in you before they understand it with their minds. They notice that, around you, time feels less frantic. They feel safer without knowing why. Their own nervous systems entrain subtly to the coherence you carry. This is not abstract. Heart-brain coherence is contagious. When your field stabilizes, others' fields begin to resonate with it. The way tuning forks begin to vibrate together. This is morphic resonance. Patterns of consciousness copying themselves across individuals, families, communities, even entire cultures. By choosing alignment, you are quietly disrupting the old pattern that says, life only responds if you strain, push, and dominate. You're creating a new template that says, life responds more clearly when I am honest, coherent, and attuned. And someone, somewhere, will feel that. They may see you trusting in a way that doesn't make logical sense. They may witness you letting go of control without collapsing into chaos. They may watch you move through challenge with a strange blend of softness and power, and something in them will remember. It's possible to live like that. You won't always know whose life was altered by your choice not to force. You won't always see the timelines that rearranged because you refused to repeat an old pattern. You won't always be told which hearts found courage because your field made coherence feel more available. But the quantum field knows. It tracks every shift, every release, every moment. You choose presence over panic. It weaves those choices into the destiny of more people than you will ever consciously meet. This is why your awakening matters. This is why your single word matters. You are not just healing your own story. You are participating in a quiet revolution in how human beings relate to reality itself. Each time you catch yourself reaching for force and soften back into trust, you weaken the collective spell that says you are separate and alone. Mate, each time you breathe through an old trigger without collapsing into reaction, you reduce the amount of pain being recycled through the human grid. Each time you allow instead of demand, you open a channel through which higher intelligence can flow into this world. You might never see your name attached to that influence. You are not meant to, because this is not about glory. It is about contribution. The moment you stop forcing reality is the moment your life stops being a closed loop and becomes a transmission. You become less of a consumer of the field and more of a collaborator with it. Your personal awakening becomes a gift to the collective. Your coherence becomes a silent prophecy of what humanity is capable of. And as that truth settles into you, another question rises from deep within your cells. If your shift affects so many others, what would it feel like to truly, fully embody this new pattern, not just as an idea, but as a living, breathing sensation in your body, moment by moment? Now let all of this drop out of your head for a moment. This isn't meant to stay as theory. It wants to become sensation. So bring your awareness into your body, not as an idea, really feel. Start with your chest. Notice the space behind your sternum, the inner room where your heart and lungs quietly move. For so long, this space has carried the tightness of effort, the subtle armor of, I must hold everything together. Even when you smiled, even when you said, I'm fine, that inner room was bracing, as if waiting for the next impact. Now, imagine that space as a small Sunday, not blazing, not overwhelming, just a warm, steady sphere of light. See it, feel it. With your inhale, imagine that sun drawing breath into it gently, like it's being fed. With your exhale, imagine the light softening outward, sending warmth into your ribs, your shoulders, your back. This is coherence as sensation, not a concept, but a warmth, not a theory, but a glow. You may notice your shoulders drop a little, your jaw unclench, your eyes soften in their sockets. This is what it feels like when the observer loop relaxes. The constant scanning, calculating, predicting all of it loosens its grip, and your body begins to remember what it's like to exist without being on high alert. Move your awareness down now into your solar plexus, that bright, complex region just below your ribs. This is where forcing reality has often lived inside you. The knot, the clench, the quiet, buzzing panic that says, if I don't make it happen, it won't. Feel whatever is there, tension, numbness, heat, emptiness. You don't need to fix it. You are simply observing it with the same quantum presence you've been learning to bring to your life. Now, imagine that same sun in your chest, sending a beam of warm light downward, like a soft golden river pouring into the solar plexus. No pressure, no demand, just warmth. With every exhale, imagine the knot loosening by 1 degree, not snapping, not breaking, just uncoiling, strand by strand. This is how your nervous system begins to exit survival mode. This is how your body learns that it no longer has to use force as proof of safety. You might feel a flutter, a sigh, a strange mix of relief and vulnerability. You might feel like crying for no obvious reason. This is your body releasing stored attempts at control, thousands of moments where you tried to hold reality together by sheer tension. Let that go now. Let your cells learn a new pattern. Drop your awareness lower, into your belly, the center of your intuition, your quiet knowing, the place where timelines are often felt before they are seen. For many years, Your belly may have been confused by the conflict between your mind's affirmations and your field's actual frequency. Your mind said, "I trust," while your body whispered, "I'm terrified." The quantum field listened to the whisper, not the script, and your belly felt that mismatch as unease, as digestive knots, as butterflies made of static instead of light. Now, imagine your belly as a deep lake at night. The surface has been stormy, disturbed by winds of worry and waves of overthinking. But tonight, the wind is fading, the water is slowing, ripples become gentle, the surface becomes glass. Feel that. The stillness, the depth. This is coherence again, this time as calm in your gut. When your belly feels like a still lake, your intuition can finally reflect clear images from the quantum field. You begin to sense which choices are aligned because they create more of this calm, and which choices drag you back into turbulence. Now, move your awareness into your spine. From the base of your skull to the root of your body, imagine your spine as an antenna, an organic, luminous conduit between the earth beneath you and the cosmic field around you. For years, this antenna has been twisted by stress, compressed by self-doubt, electrified by anxiety. Your observer loop has been firing signals through it like static. Hurry, fix, control, push. But now, feel your spine lengthen on the inhale. Feel it softened by the exhale. Imagine a thin stream of light moving up and down, root to crown to root in an easy, rhythmic flow. This is your personal axis of coherence, a clear channel where information, intuition, and quantum intelligence can move without obstruction. If you pay close attention, you may notice a subtle hum, a vibration not loud, not dramatic, but steady, almost like the background tone of your being. That hum is your field beginning to organize, your heart, brain, breath, and cells starting to entrain into a shared rhythm. This is coherence as music, your music. Now, stretch your awareness outward to the edges of your body and just beyond into the invisible space around you. This space is not empty. It is your electromagnetic field, the aura through which you interface with the quantum field. For a long time, this field has been jagged, full of tiny microfractures from all the times you doubted yourself, rejected your own feelings, forced your path. Tonight, feel it smoothing, the edges becoming rounder, the texture becoming silk instead of sandpaper. See yourself sitting or lying there, surrounded by a soft, luminous atmosphere like a gentle, translucent cocoon of light. This is your coherence field. This is what the quantum field sees when it responds to you. When you stop forcing reality, this is how your body begins to feel. Less like a clenched fist, more like an open hand. Less like a storm, more like a steady tide. Less like scattered static, more like a clear, sustained tone. And in this state, every part of you, your breath, your cells, your DNA, your observer loop, is preparing for something even more profound. The moment when your very genetic code undergoes its phase transition and your timeline bends to meet the version of you who has always been waiting, just beyond the edge of force. You can feel it now, the edge of something immense pressing against the inside of your life. Not like a thought, like a pressure. It's there when you wake up in the middle of the night for no clear reason, heart calm but awareness wide, as if some invisible presence is standing at the doorway of your timeline waiting to be let in. It's there when familiar habits suddenly feel unbearable, too small, like clothes you've outgrown overnight. It's there when you try to slip back into the old forcing mode and your whole body quietly revolts. This pressure is not the world closing in on you. It is your future self pushing through. A phase transition is reaching its critical point inside your system, inside your neural pathways, your heart field, and most deeply, inside your DNA. What you've been feeling as discomfort, restlessness, and strange emotional tides has not been random chaos. It has been restructuring. DNA is not just a static code locked in your cells. It is an antenna, a transmitter, a quantum instrument constantly reading and broadcasting information into the field. For years, your DNA has been tuned to survival, alert for threat, loyal to old family patterns, repeating ancestral loops, replaying morphic resonance you inherited rather than chose. That is why forcing reality always felt so heavy. You were trying to use conscious will to overpower frequencies encoded far deeper than your thoughts. But everything you've done up to this moment, every breath of coherence, every release of control, every ritual gesture, every word chosen as your new identity has been sending new instructions into that code. Your cells have been listening. Your DNA has been listening. Each time you chose trust over tightening, your field whispered to your genetics, "We're safe enough to open now." Emsing Bay. Each time you caught yourself in the old observer loop and returned to presence, your nervous system signaled, "We no longer need to broadcast constant emergency." Each time you acted from alignment instead of desperation, your timeline sent feedback into the quantum field. Lock in this version. This one is coherent. Tonight, that accumulation reaches the tipping point. Imagine your DNA as twin spirals of light, winding up and up, humming with the memories of everything your lineage has lived through. Fear, hope, love, scarcity, faith, struggle, resilience. Along those spirals are certain knots, certain segments that have been tightened by generations of forcing. Work harder or you're nothing. Control or you'll be abandoned. Hide your true self to stay safe. These knots were never your fault, but they've been shaping your reality. Now, in the presence of coherence, something begins to happen. At specific points along the spirals, the light begins to intensify. Not everywhere at once, just where you are ready. The knots start to loosen. Photons, tiny packets of light, start firing more rhythmically. Information begins to flow where it was once blocked. You might feel this as waves of tingling through your body. A pressure in your head that comes and goes. Strange heat in your palms or spine. Flashes of insight, images, or memories surfacing and dissolving without drama. These are signs of quantum-level restructuring your DNA, undergoing a phase transition from survival-coded to coherence-coded. At the exact same time, your timeline bends. Think of your life path not as a straight line, but as a bundle of potential threads, timelines of who you could be, where you could go, who you could meet, what you could create. Most people walk only the thread their unconscious programming allows them to see. But when your DNA restructuring reaches a certain level of coherence, your perceptual field expands. You begin to sense junctions, choice points that were always there but previously invisible. The job you thought you had to take suddenly has an alternative. The relationship dynamic you believed you were stuck in suddenly reveals a different way of relating or a door out. The story about what is possible for someone like you begins to fracture, and through the cracks, new light streams in. This can feel like pressure at first. Your old reality will try to pull you back with familiar scripts. Don't be foolish. This is just a phase. Who do you think you are? If you don't force it, you'll lose everything. But those voices are echoes. They belong to the you who lived before this upgrade. The you whose DNA was still wrapped in the old knots. The you whose observer loop didn't know any other way. Now, your entire system is different. The quantum field responds faster because the signal you're sending is clearer. Opportunities appear not as random luck, but as reflections of your new coherence. People with matching frequency drift into your orbit. Conversations open doors that used to remain shut. You are stepping onto a higher probability timeline, one in which your inner state and outer reality are more tightly entangled, one in which you can no longer afford to pretend your frequency doesn't matter. This is the pressure you feel now, not from life against you, but from destiny calling you forward. You are crossing from the era where you struggled to make reality obey, into the era where your very being becomes the command, not a command of force, but a command of resonance. And as your DNA completes this phase transition, one truth becomes undeniable. Your shift is not a private miracle. It is the beginning of a new contract with the cosmos, a mission-level agreement with the quantum field itself. The only question that remains is how you will choose to live now that you know. Reality doesn't respond fastest when you tighten your will, but when you fully inhabit the role you were always meant to play. In the evolution of human consciousness, you know now that this was never just about manifesting faster. It was about remembering who you are in the architecture of reality itself. You are not a small self begging a distant universe to cooperate. You are a conscious node of the quantum field, a living intersection where light, information, and destiny converge. The pressure, the loops, The déjà vu, the distorted time, the breakdown of forcing, all of it has led you here, to this simple, radical truth. The quantum field responds faster when you stop trying to bend it to your will and start allowing it to move through your coherence. This is your cosmic mission now, not to become perfect, not to erase your humanity, but to live as a bridge between survival and awakening, between control and trust, between separation and entanglement. From this point forward, your life becomes a practice of alignment. Each morning, you will feel the subtle choice point. Will you tighten around reality today, or soften into partnership with it? Will you rehearse fear, or breathe coherence? Will you chase outcomes, or listen for the next aligned impulse from the field? You will still act. You will still make decisions, send messages, start projects, end cycles, step into unknowns. But the place you act from will be different. No longer from the frantic insistence that life obey you, but from the quiet authority of someone who knows, when my inner field is clear, reality has no choice but to reflect that clarity. This is how your personal mission merges with humanity's evolution. Every time you choose coherence instead of compulsion, you stabilize the collective grid. Every time you refuse to repeat an old pattern of force, you weaken that pattern in the human field. Every time you embody trust in the quantum field, you become a living prophecy of a new way to be human. Others will feel it without knowing why. They will breathe easier around you. They will speak more honestly. They will cry and feel safe doing so. They will dream bigger. They will sense that reality is not as rigid as they were taught, because standing in front of them is proof. You won't always see the ripples you create. You don't need to. The quantum field keeps that ledger. Your task is simpler and more profound. To keep returning to your chest as a sun of warmth, to your belly as a still lake, to your spine as a luminous antenna, to your word as a living code. To keep remembering that your DNA is no longer broadcasting the old emergency signal, that your observer loop is no longer trapped in the same script. You are in a new phase now, a post-transition self, a being whose inner state and outer reality have become tightly linked by design. Yes, you will wobble. Yes, you will forget at times and slip back into trying to push. But even in those moments, you'll feel the difference. Forcing will taste bitter where it once felt normal. You'll recognize the static in your field, the way a musician hears a note out of tune. And in that recognition, you will come back to coherence faster. Your recovery will become your mastery. This is your contract with the quantum field. You will no longer demand that reality obey your will from a place of fear. You will instead offer your coherence as a tuning fork and allow reality to respond in ways your old self could never have orchestrated. Your life becomes a collaboration now. Your will as a compass, the quantum field as the ocean, your coherence as the sail that catches the invisible winds of synchronicity. And as you move through this world, one thing will become unmistakably clear. You don't need to force reality. You only need to become so deeply, undeniably aligned that the quantum field has no choice but to move in harmony with you. This is why it responds faster now. Not because you shout louder at existence, but because you finally remember what you truly are. A clear observer, a coherent field, a human soul, entangled with a living universe that has been waiting not to obey your will, but to dance with it